Welcome in, everyone. If you can, go ahead and drop in where you're joining us from in the chat. We're going to get started soon, just as you guys all trickle in. And just a reminder, you guys are probably seeing on the screen, go ahead and mute or shut off your Alexas. We're going to be talking about her extensively today. So if you have them on, it's probably a good idea to unplug them or mute them.
Yeah, you don't want to hear her chiming in throughout the entirety of this training.
Yes. And we're gonna get started shortly. It's 2:02. I think I'm gonna wait one more minute. I haven't seen anything in the chat yet. Can someone just test it out? I just want to see where you guys are joining from. Just want to make sure you guys are able to use that.
There's one.
There's one. There you go. Perfect. Hi, Joe, in the US. Okay, so we're gonna get started. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so happy to have you. This is the long-awaited training for our smart home tools. This is Smart at Home from unboxing to empowering. And we have a special guest today, so you'll get to meet him very shortly. But I want to go ahead and go through um, all of our information today. So first of all, I want to make sure that you know this is a two-part training. So part one is Smart at Home from unboxing to empowering. And then we're going to have our part two this Thursday, and that will be more about additional routines and kind of getting into the nitty-gritty of it. Those will also be at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time this Thursday. So if you haven't already registered, please do. All the materials, all the information will be sent out to all the registrants, and we'll be sharing that throughout our event today. So we hope to see you there as well. If you don't already know, I'm your moderator. My name is Michelle Rosado. I'm the Ability Tools Program Coordinator. Um, I am a fair-skinned, middle-aged Latina woman with curly red hair and thick brown glasses. Today I'm wearing a tan top and kind of drop hoop earrings. Behind me is my blurred background of my home office. And joining me today, I'm so excited. Um, Soon you're going to meet our special guest, Daniel Rosado. He's our smart home integration technician. Daniel's installed many smart home setups for a variety of needs, and he'll be sharing some of his specific expertise with us today and hopefully help make setting these up a little more painless for everyone. He's also my baby brother, so please, please be gentle with him. He's joining us after a long work day, and he's all the way coming from Philly. So please welcome him in. You'll get to meet him more extensively in just a bit. I just want to get over all of our accessibility information. So as you know, typically we always record these sessions. You'll be able to find them on our YouTube channel. The gals will go ahead and link that up for you in the chat. We also have enabled our accessibility features. You should be able to drop your questions in the Q&A. You can drop links or any comments in the chat. We have enabled closed captioning for today. And then you can also use the raise hand feature. And so on the screen to the right, you're going to see the Q&A box. Looks like two little quotes with the Q&A. You're going to find these tools at the bottom of your menu screen. The chat is identified by a bubble. Again, it says chat. Closed captioning is identified by the CC, and then the raise hand feature is also identified by the raise hand. We're going to kind of stop a couple times for questions. Once will be during a section that might be a little confusing, so we'll make sure that we'll allow time for that. But then the rest of it will be at the end of the presentation just to make sure we have time to get through everything. Um, Reminder to myself and Daniel, we want to try to keep a moderate pace and provide the visual descriptions. If we forget, if we're going too fast, please go ahead and drop it in the chat. We will slow down for you or describe something that we forgot. But we're going to do our very best to get all that done for you today. And then our tech hosts today are Amora and Ine, our additional ability tools program coordinators. So you can also message them directly if you're having any tech issues or if you have any direct questions. They'll be happy to help and can kind of work with you offline. Next slide. So for today's agenda, let's go over what we'll be talking about. So first thing is, like I mentioned before, this has kind of been a long-awaited session. Many of the DLDCs received some smart home devices that are available for loan and available for demonstration. And so they've been kind of sitting on some of these devices, and we wanted to share some information on how to set them up and how they can be used for loan. So first thing we'll discuss is how to access these smart devices from the DLDC. The next will be some smart shopping tips for Alexa compatible devices. Then we'll go ahead and turn it over to Daniel, and he'll talk about understanding skills, routines, and actions. Then he'll do some live demonstrations on how to set up the Amazon Echo, the fourth generation setup and pairing, and then the emergency assist walkthrough. Um, each of these will have some videos for you. And again, we'll wrap up with some Q&A and some quick tips and information on resources. We have some great resources for accessing AAC devices with these commands as well. So we look forward to sharing all the resources with you guys. As we mentioned before, the recordings, slides, and any documents that we have will be available to share. Um, Before I completely dive in, I want to make sure that you guys are all aware. Daniel is going to be going through his segment where it's the setting up the Amazon Echo and then the emergency assist. Those are also now available, the training guides, as individual blogs. So when we get to his segment, the gals will drop in the links for you all that if you'd like to follow along with the steps. And if you have any questions, again, please use the Q&A in the chat, and we'll be happy to try to tag team and see if we can get through this with you. But this is meant for you. This is meant to be interactive and easy to use. So please, um, share your questions. And again, if you have any tips or ideas for the next segment, you're welcome to throw that in the chat as well. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and jump over to our next section. So device lending and demonstration centers. Many of you that are joining today are very familiar with this. I just want to give this information to anybody that is not aware. So Ability Tools operates several device lending and demonstration centers, or we partner with several of them throughout California. Currently, we have 9 device loan and demonstration centers, and whether your need is temporary or you'd like to just try out some devices before you buy, you can provide a free short-term loan for up to 30 days to test out the devices and demonstrate them. You can also go into these centers and demonstrate the devices. The purpose of the device loan program is to let potential AT users try out the devices before purchase and to have access to a backup system when their device is out for repairs. So specifically, if you'd like to see what's available as far as smart devices, you can scan the QR code here. This will take you to our public access page. And then from there, you can kind of filter through, select California, and you can select either the the location that you'd like to look up, or you can also look up by the device type and you can check out a device. It doesn't necessarily have to be close to you. So if there is a device available in San Diego and they're able to ship it to you, you can also request a loan that way. So I urge you folks, if you haven't used this tool in the past, please save the public access information. If you have any questions, you're also welcome to email us. Currently, I'm the one that helps manage these questions and the loans and the information. So if you have any questions, you're welcome to either shoot myself an email or you can send it to abilitytools@cfilc.org. If you'd like to send me an email directly, I'm at Michelle, Michelle, at cfilc.org. And I see the girls drop that in the chat for you. So if you have any questions or if you have any trouble with your DLDC requests, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to kind of look into it. Again, each center is going to have their own devices and their own, they kind of monitor their own loans. And so certain cases they're not able to loan to an individual if it's a very high priced item. They might have to work with an independent living center nearby. But again, if you're running into any issues, please let me know and we'll kind of work through those. Okay. Um, with that said, we'll go ahead and jump over to the next slide. So one of the things that we wanted to, or that we did discover, while we have all these devices that were actually sent out to the DLDCs, we discovered a few things. One, not all of them worked the way we anticipated that they would work and pair up. Some of them were a little more difficult to pair up than others. And they were very I should say that there were some that, you can go really a deep dive into some of these devices as well and get all kinds of things that you can pair. We tried to keep it as simple as possible because these are loans. And so with this particular batch of items that we're going to be showing you, today is going to focus on the Alexa and setting that up. But the future trainings will show a little bit more about what the loan and demonstration centers have. And so what you can pair up, different routines that you can create for it. So again, this is just to kind of get your feet wet on what could be available, what could be useful for you. Some of the great things that we found out is you want to see when you're doing your shopping, if you're trying to pair that with the Alexa, you want to see if you're looking for the device where you'll see on the label it says works with Alexa. Now, in some cases, this can be a little bit misleading because we found with a few of them that there was still an additional hub we needed to get. So hopefully we'll be able to kind of work through some of that, but we wanted to mention it's very important to make sure that it's accessible with Alexa. You want to stick to popular, widely supported brands. That's also another thing that makes it a little easier. So brands like TP-Link, Casa, Philips Hue, Nest, Wise, Ring, UFi, and Sensi. These all have really strong Alexa compatibility and they offer easy step-through process with the Alexa app. Many of these brands also provide dedicated Alexa skills, making it easier to control their devices by voice through the routines. So brands like Philips Hue use Zigbee, which is a wireless protocol designed specifically for smart home devices. And we actually at the DLDC also used Zigbee. And so there's a lot of Zigbee enabled devices that you'll see in the loan libraries, but you might want to, that might not be the best device for you down the line. So you're going to have to kind of test certain things and see what works best for you. Um, we'll kind of walk through what the difference is. So the more popular supported brands, those are a little easier to pair. Um, and then they're more reliable connections with Zigbee and low power. It could be faster. So that's the plus of using Zigbee. But the other thing is you want to know if you need a hub. So if you need the Zigbee versus Wi-Fi. So that was the other portion that we said that is pretty important. So some of the devices, especially Zigbee based ones, require an additional hub. It should be noted though that all the centers were given Echo fourth generation devices, which means that they don't need the Zigbee hub in many cases. So as long as it's being paired with an Echo fourth generation or Echo Show, oftentimes you won't need the additional hub. So these are some things that we discovered with some of the devices that we got. Another thing that's a good tip is if you notice that you're unable to use the device, double check the gigahertz. Many smart devices only work on 2.4 gigahertz networks, not 5 gigahertz, so you want to look for that. Um, you'll also want to review the Alexa app compatibility. So some devices require a specific skill or an account link in the Alexa app. So you can check the Alexa app for existing integrations. And we have, at the end of everything, we'll have a cheat sheet that has a lot of this information for you. You also want to look for simple voice control features. So you can choose devices that have basic on and off or toggle commands, especially for beginners or AAC users. Example, Alexa, turn on fan. Alexa, dim the light 50%. These are easy voice control features. You want to think about accessibility. So, voice only setup options, no touch screen needed, audible feedback or visual alerts. You want to look for those kind of accessibility options. These also support users who use AAC devices, switches, and screen readers. Some folks like to prioritize energy efficiency and security. You can look for smart plugs or lights that offer energy monitoring features. We've actually showcased a couple of those in the past. For security, you can get devices that use two-factor authentication and set up a guest access carefully to protect your smart home. And then the last two are pretty simple, but to be very honest, I think it's one of the most important. So you want to review the return policies and be sure to test your device within the time frame. We learned that the hard way on some of the devices that we purchased. It was outside the return, and we noticed it was very difficult to pair with some of the devices. And so we just want to make sure that if you're doing some of this shopping and you're checking to see what you like and what might work well for you, it's really a useful tool to double check the return policy and check the reviews. You can look for the devices. I typically will look for devices that have a large number of reviews, high rankings before making any purchases. But again, kind of falling back on the return policy also helps because if you're trying it out and testing it, it just doesn't work out for you, you can always send it back. So these are just some quick shopping tips, and we'll have all these in a little cheat sheet for you at the end of our presentation. And now I think that means I'm going to go ahead and introduce Daniel's segment. So next slide, this will be understanding skills, routines, and actions. So Daniel, I think this is your expertise, so I'll let you take it away.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Daniel Rosado. I am a fair-skinned Latino male, bald-headed by choice. I have a salt and pepper beard, mostly pepper. This is the blurred out background of my office space. I blur it out because it is quite messy. There's tons of computer components everywhere in here. I need to at least present professionally. And then my microphone is in front of me. Um, so to actually very quickly touch on what Michelle was previously talking about, I did want to add a point to the review piece is when you are shopping for yourselves or when you are searching for these types of things, reviews a lot of times will give you some good information as far as how well they connect with certain things. Like Michelle was mentioning, there was one piece in particular that would only connect with one specific app and it didn't work with anything else. And it on the box it told you that it works with Alexa, and it technically did. It just didn't work well. So it is very, very important when you do shop for these things, you have to do a little bit of digging just to make sure you're getting the right I guess the right brand would probably be the best thing to say. Um, but to move into what I'm going to go over now is we're going to go over understanding skills, routines, and actions. Um, and a next slide, please. Thank you. So to start off, we're going to talk about Alexa's skills. And before I even jump into this, when it comes to skills, these actions and routines is it's not Alexa only that can do these things, but the verbiage that we're using is Alexa specific. So obviously Alexa skills, Alexa routines, things of that nature is Alexa, only. But say if you have like a Google Home or another kind of smart home device, you can do these same things with them. You just need to figure out the specifics for your device. Um, but for the Alexa skills, the best way to think of it is Alexa skills are like apps that you download on a phone or a tablet. But of course, instead of tapping on the screen, you use your voice. The skills can expand what Alexa can do. You can add skills that play trivia games, give you daily inspiration, help with meditation, or even control specific devices in your home. What Michelle was mentioning before with the Philips Hue being one of the brands is they do have skills for most of the stuff that they sell that's very easily that you can very easily slot into your Alexa app. And that way it's much simpler and it gives you a lot more control over what these smart devices can do. Um, so past that, you have the things like smart lights, thermostats, even TVs. Some of them have skills that you can put into the Alexa app to be able to control. Most skills are free and can be added using the Alexa app itself, which is what's either downloaded on your tablet or your smart home or smartphone, or by visiting the Amazon Skills store, which is online. Um, and once you've added them, you activate them by saying the name of the skill. So again, it's the same thing as saying like Alexa, tell me the weather today, or Alexa, this, that, and the third. It's the same concept. It's just a little more added, I guess you say added steps for a little more technical aspects to these things. Um, so for example, if you're using a Philips Hue smart bulb, you'd enable the Philips Hue skill. Then you could just say something like Alexa, turn on the bedroom light, and it knows exactly what to do. Whether that's you have the bedroom light turn on at 50% power, you have it turn on the color green at a particular time of day. Those are the types of things that skills will let you achieve. Um, it's essentially a great way to personalize your Alexa kind of ecosystem, your smart home ecosystem, and something to go along with your lifestyle. Now, for Alexa routines, which is the next part of this, Alexa routines are a custom series of actions, and I will go into actions after this. Um, but routines are really where a lot of the complexity and the enjoyment of these types of devices comes from. Um, and I want you to think of them like a personalized shortcut. They are a series of actions that happen, and they all happen automatically once they're set up that way. And it's usually just with a simple voice command. You can also put them on a schedule, so they happen, say, 6 o'clock every morning on a weekday, or even with a sensor. If you have like a motion sensor, you can have an entire routine play out every time somebody moves in front of it. So instead of having, say, five different things you would tell Alexa, you would just group all of them into one routine and have everything play out by itself. For example, a good morning routine could turn on the lights, tell you the weather this morning, and then start your favorite music playlist. And that's all just one phrase, which is Alexa, good morning. Um, you can also schedule the routines to happen at certain times or trigger them, like I said, from a motion sensor or from a door opening. Um, this is especially helpful for building kind of like a daily structure when it comes to smart home devices. Um, for instance, say if you take a medication at a very particular time, you can have your smart light turn blue when the time comes. So you have a visual cue along with maybe an alarm on your phone to really get you to remember, hey, I need to take my medication at this time, which is something super helpful for me because I have medication I take every morning. And I actually use things like this to remind me multiple times to, hey, take your pills. Um, And then as far as creating the routines, we won't touch on it too much today. It's actually in Thursday's training is when we'll go over a little more in depth about like the creation of routines and how they stack onto each other. But to break it down to the next piece, which would be the actions. Um, and the actions are those individual tasks I was mentioning in the routines. So the action would be, say, turning on the light, simply just turning it on, or turning off a light, or making a light become a particular color. All of those three things I just mentioned, those are all individual actions. Um, so the actions themselves are individual tasks that Alexa does, like turning on a light, reading out your schedule, or starting your music. They're essentially the building blocks of everything Alexa does. So when you create a routine, you're basically stacking a bunch of these actions on top of each other. Um, Going back to the good morning routine that I was just speaking about, that would do, say, we can set it to if I have a plug with my coffee machine plugged in, I can have the coffee machine turn on at 6 o'clock in the morning. I can have my light bulb in the living room turn on at a very dim light, and I can have music start playing, whether it's a morning playlist or something extremely loud to make sure I wake up, you know, whatever it is that you want to do, that's what these actions allow you to build on. Um, and then to move kind of away from that, well, actually, before I move away from that, just to make sure, is there any questions regarding those? Because I know, like I said, we'll kind of refresh this again on Thursday, but I do know that this is usually since a lot of this has to do with how these things work, just in case if anyone has anything as far as maybe a specific use case or maybe they're dealing with something now while they're trying to set up. Like I'd love to have you ask the question and hopefully I'll be able to give you an answer while I'm here versus tackling it on your own.
Come on, guys. I know you guys like to ask questions.
And if you come up with one after we've moved past this segment, obviously we have another Q&A section at the end of this. I just wanted to open up the floor real quick just in case.
You've got one hand raised. Should I unmute?
Go for it.
All right, Joe, I'm gonna let you ask your question.
How time consuming is it to create these routines, skills, whatever?
Say it again, Joe. You're hard to hear right now.
Is it very time consuming to create routines like this? And what all is involved? Like,
Well, two things. The routines, we're gonna talk about on Thursday, like way more in depth, but you can build on them.
Mhm.
So you can definitely do quicker routines. But the purpose of our training is going to be so that you guys understand the basics and then you are not as afraid to build on the routines. The other really, and I'm going to let Daniel jump in because he knows more about this, but as far as us going through this, another thing that we found, and we'll share this again on Thursday, is that routines are shareable on Amazon Alexa. So the nice thing about that, especially with our group, our DLDCs and our advocates and that sort of thing, we can share these. So if someone else comes up with an ideal routine that works well for them, we can share that in our to another Alexa. So that we can kind of dive a little more into on Thursday, but I'm gonna let Daniel, kind of answer the basics of it. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah. Thank you for the question, Joe, by the way. I appreciate it. Um, as far as the routines themselves and setting them up, I wouldn't say they actually do. I would say what's more important, at least say if you're starting from scratch, you have to essentially make all the actions beforehand. So like you have to make the action for, say, starting something at 6 a.m. and then say you have another one for 7 p.m. And the actions themselves, when you're first starting out, can take a little bit. But like Michelle mentioned, there are places and ways to get them that because they can be shared, that makes things a bit easier. But once you have most of the actions, the routines themselves become pretty quick because it's just kind of adding in like, okay, I want it at this time. I want this to happen. I want this to happen. Create. And then when you create it, it's going to ask you like what devices you want it attached to. You attach it to them, you hit save, and that's it. So the learning curve, we'll say past the initial learning curve of like just kind of getting used to these actions and routines. Once you kind of understand that part, and then once you start getting some of your own actions in there, it becomes pretty quick. Once you're really like in tune with it, you've been doing it for a while, a single routine can take like 5 minutes. Thank you again for the question.
And the other thing that I hope that you guys take away with this is that if you have the ability to have, we recently did an Earth Day event. If some of you joined, where someone showed their smart home um, model home kind of thing. If you have the ability to do that in-house or in your offices, please, please, I would highly encourage try doing that. That's one way that you could demo some of these items, but also get more familiar with these basics of the actions and the routines. Um, and like we were talking about, some of them are easily shared, so they could be very simple. But it's just kind of nice to be able to add and play with them. So I would encourage, if you have the ability to do so, and you have a space, whether it be your office or whether it be the lobby, whether it be an area that's shared that consumers come to, and you have the ability to do it, I would highly encourage reaching out and utilizing some of these resources to do that. It might be really helpful down the line. And also, not all of you guys do home visits. So if you don't have the ability to show somebody directly in their home, being able to do it in the office might be the next best thing.
Yeah. And it's good to get acquainted with these things early. I know it can seem daunting. I know when I started a couple years ago, like you there's so much of it out there that can seem very overwhelming. And that's what we're hoping to try and help at least a little bit with is the fear of like starting with these things. Because really all you need for most of this stuff is the basics. And once you have the basics, kind of all the everything else seems like a little bit of extra noise, a lot of extra things that you can obviously get into if you want to, but to really take advantage of it, a few of the basic skills as far as what we're talking about now with creating your routines, creating these things like that will be the major building blocks for getting a lot of this stuff to work.
Thank you, Dan. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, I think we can jump over to the checklist. And before Daniel goes over the checklist, I wanted to point out that this is probably the best spot for any of the advocates that are going to be working with individuals, any consumers. This is probably the way you want to vet your consumer to see if there would be um, a good candidate for taking a loan for demoing some of the devices that we have, the smart devices. So, and being able to do some of this on their own. Without this, it would be nearly impossible. So please, please make sure that you have this information, and I'll let, Daniel go through the checklist. And then before he does that as well, ladies, can I ask you to please drop in the link to the Amazon Echo setup made easy? And that will be the next segment that Daniel goes through. What that will be, just so you guys are aware, we've already set up these training guides for you as blogs, so you guys can follow along if you'd like to. And you can also share this information. They're already out there. So the first one is here. You'll see the abilitytools.org blog, Amazon Echo setup made easy. That's going to be the first one we'll review. And then the next one will be subscribing and setting up Amazon Alexa Emergency Assist. And we'll get through that one after Daniel has a chance to go through this first one. But I wanted to drop it in the chat so that you guys don't have to hit me up and say, "Hey, can we get the training guys?" They're already there. So you're welcome to follow along, but he's going to walk you through it. And we'll jump over. Oh, great. And then I see the subscribing and setting up Amazon Alexa Emergency Assist. That's also in there. Again, all the videos, all the information that we're talking about, all the links, we do it all for you. It's all hyperlinked in there. So you should have all this information ready to go. We'll also be able to share the slide deck with anybody, all the registrants as well. And then we have, I believe, a couple additional resources, a cheat sheet that's going out in the follow-up email. But I wanted to have you guys prepared if you want to follow along. And if you have any questions, please throw them in the chat. And I'm going to hand this back over to Daniel to go ahead and take over for the checklist first, and then we can dive into the setting up the Echo.
Okay. So, like Michelle mentioned, this, especially for the people, if you're going to be, say, loaning these things out or really kind of vetting to see who's ready to use one of these devices, these are kind of the main things. They obviously, for what we're demonstrating today, they have to have an Amazon account pre-created. The username, the password, all of that stuff, they can sign into it. That has to be made beforehand. And essentially you have to have that to even do majority of this stuff. They have to have a smartphone or a tablet that is capable of downloading apps. The smartphone portion they will have to have if they want to use phone calls through the Alexa. And we will touch on that in a little bit. But if they just want to have an Alexa in the house that plays music and gives them some simple reminders, a tablet's perfectly fine. And even a lot of these other things we're going to talk about, like light bulbs and connections, like all of that just needs a tablet. It's really just the phone that they have to have if the phone calling is, say, it's important for them. Um, Obviously, past that, you want a private Wi-Fi connection. And I wanted to make sure I touched on private because when I was doing a lot of IT work out in the field, there would be certain places I would go where the residents or the clients that I was helping, they used the public Wi-Fi for where they were living, which one is a bit of a security risk. You don't really know who's on that Wi-Fi, but two, it can cause a lot of problems because say if your next door neighbor has another, Alexa like you, the network that you put it on doesn't really know how to differentiate them. And a lot of times they'll either disconnect themselves, they won't really know what to do. So having private Wi-Fi, depending on where you are, like for me, I have, Comcast cable internet out here, Xfinity. But there's Verizon, AT&T, all those guys. And then of course the Amazon Alexa app itself, which is again why we had to have the Amazon account. If they don't have these four things already made, just be mindful if you do kind of want to continue engaging, because when it comes to account creation, passwords, things like that, like that's a lot of the other stuff I did in my IT work, and that can lead you down a rabbit hole if, say, they don't know that email's password, but now they need, another password to get that password sent over, and it can just be this never-ending stream of issues. So try your best to just kind of make sure that's done ahead of time, or at the very least, you can explain it to them. Like, listen, I can't help you with these things, but in order to use or do any of these things, you have to make sure that these things are in order, and then you can go from there. So to move on to the Amazon Echo setup made easy, um, like it was linked in the chat, there is the blog post that pretty much has a step-by-step guide for setting everything up. But there's also a video guide built in, and that's actually what we're going to play for you because the guide itself and the video guide are almost identical to each other. Um, and then once this is over, if say as you're watching it, something pops in your mind, you have any questions, please again write it down, and we'll take it at the uh, end of the training today. And for now, I'm going to mute my mic and let the video play. In this video, we're going to go over the basic setup of an Amazon Echo 4th generation smart home device. Now, before we begin, I want you to be mindful, possibly not all the settings or steps we go over will be exactly what you see. Some of the steps may be slightly different. You could also have more or less steps due to numerous reasons. For example, if you have other smart home items, how you initially set up your Amazon Alexa app, or how old or new the devices you're using are. Now, before we set up the Echo, you're going to need to decide on a place to put it. I would advise an open space that's easily accessible for you. Reason being is if the Echo is behind doors, encased, or obstructed in any way, the Echo's microphone might not be able to hear you as clearly, and therefore you won't be able to get the correct responses all the time. Now, you're going to plug in your Echo and wait for the orange light ring to appear. You're going to open the Amazon Alexa app on your smartphone or tablet. Up in the top right corner, you're going to tap the plus icon. Looks like a little plus sign. You're going to select Device and choose Amazon Echo from the list. Then Echo, Echo Dot, Echo Pop, and more. You should get a screen that says, "Is your Echo plugged in and displaying an orange light?" Select Yes. If your Echo doesn't have an orange light like in the picture, select No. The Echo should give you instructions on how to reset your specific Echo device to put it in setup mode. Once you're in setup mode with the orange light, you're going to select your Echo from available devices. If it asks you to allow access to a location, select Yes. This is going to allow for accurate weather, local news, the traffic. Now, you're going to follow the on-screen instructions to connect your Echo to your Wi-Fi network. In the video, you're going to see the Echo automatically connect to a Wi-Fi network. Now, if yours doesn't automatically connect, you're going to follow the instructions, which should be finding your Wi-Fi name, whatever it may be for your home. Once you select it, you're going to input the password for it. Once you do, it should take you to the same spot of saying you are connected to the internet. You're going to select the language Alexa will listen for. You may get a screen that says, "Where is this device?" I would suggest allowing it to have your address due to some of the features that this will enable. You may get a screen that says, "Which room is your Echo in?" Choose the description that best suits where you placed it, like your living room, your office, or your dining room. If it says, "Welcome to Amazon Sidewalk," select Disable. It's not something that we want to participate in, and that's mainly for privacy reasons. Once you finish that, you should be done setting up your Echo device. To test this, you can say, "Alexa, what's the date today?" And if she responds correctly, you're good to go.
So I had content ideas on my phone. My brand.
So one of the things I wanted to point out, we'll talk about this at the end as well, but all of these mini videos that are available are also going to be in our YouTube channel. And so right now, if you're following along with us on the blog, you'll notice at the top of this blog was the video for setting up the Amazon Alexa. So you can encourage your consumers to watch that and look at the blog at the same time. It will walk them through the wording step by step. You can also just go to our YouTube channel, and if you're just needing a quick refresher, all of these will be grouped together so that way you have access to it, like if you're needing to refresh or reset. And we'll kind of guide you how to get to it at the end. I just wanted to point that out as well.
Yeah. And it's kind of mainly what these are for. A lot of the video guides are really just kind of refreshers to go back through, or if you are teaching somebody or loaning somebody a device, you can just give this to them and say, "Hey, if it works better for you instead of reading, you need a visual guide. It helps you to see kind of like the smart device screen, where to tap, what to go to. That's really what this stuff is for. Um, Now, to move on to the next part, I'm going to go over some of the basic commands that the Amazon Echo can do. And again, we're keeping it basic for this one because it's mostly just about the Echo device as well as emergency assist, which I'm going to talk about afterwards. The more complicated stuff we'll touch on in Thursday. Um, so, for instance, one of the ones that I use a lot of times is reminders. So, one of them could be, Alexa, remind me to take my medication at 8 a.m. every day. And then she'll confirm it for you. And then at 8 a.m. every day, you'll either get a notification on your phone, depending on how, yours is set up, or she'll just come out and say it. She'll tell you what it is. Again, you could do, Alexa, tell me the weather, you know, at 7 a.m. every day, or tell me the traffic in my area, every morning. And you could set it up in a way that it just kind of fits your life. Um, and it's the same thing with alarms. So setting an alarm, again, compare with kind of reminders for medications, alarms for every weekday at 6 a.m. And it's all the same. It's Alexa, do this. So Alexa, set an alarm for 7 a.m. every weekday. And then probably the more, I don't want to say in depth, but the more involved command has to do with calling. And I do want to share, it's kind of like a basic video instructions on how to really kind of set this up. And this kind of calls back to what I was mentioning before, that in order to do this, these things have to be set up with a phone. And now the phone doesn't have to be next to it after it's set up. It's just the Alexa has to know that there's a phone number that it can use to call out and to receive calls from. Once it has that initial connection done, the phone is, can be in another room. It won't matter. Like, you can talk directly through the Alexa, you can hear through it. It's just the setup part that you have to have it. So, Ine, if you can just play the video instructions for calls with Alexa.
How to make Alexa calls. You can make a call using the Alexa app by selecting the contact you want to call. Open the Alexa app, select More, select Communicate, select the contacts icon, then select the contact you want to call. You can also make calls using your voice with your compatible Alexa devices by using simple phrases. Try these example phrases to start an Alexa call. Call John's Echo. Call Jane's mobile. Call John's office. Call Mom. Call my phone. Please note that Alexa calling does not support calls to the following types of numbers: emergency service numbers such as 911, premium rate numbers such as 1-900 numbers, 3-digit numbers or abbreviated dial codes, international numbers, dial by letter numbers such as 1-800-Flowers.
So I like to think, as far as the basic commands go, that calling through Alexa is probably the most helpful one, um, especially in regards to, possibly it's more difficult for some people to see the numbers on a smaller phone, or to just have that freedom to use everything hands free. Like in the video, they do say you mentioned to call a contact. Now, the part that they didn't go over is that you do have to initially allow your Alexa app uh, access to your contacts. So, say if you say, Alexa, call mom for the first time, it will prompt you and tell you essentially, hey, I don't have access to the contacts right now. You need to give me access to the contacts. Can we essentially start the process? It will walk you through it as far as, what to press, where to go, what to allow once you say that prompt for the first time. But everything is done through the Alexa app itself. And once the initial setup is done, you don't have to worry about those types of things anymore. Now to move on to the next section, because those were the only three basic commands I wanted to touch on today. The next thing we're going to talk about is actually a program that Amazon offers called Alexa Emergency Assist. This is kind of how what they mentioned in the video, how they don't call emergency services. This is that piece that's missing from there. It's a monthly subscription that you pay into. But what it does is it allows you kind of peace of mind and a lot of ease to simply say a command. You have someone that will essentially respond to you, and then within, quick dialogue, you'll let them know you need emergency services for whatever it is that may be happening. And we do have a small video, kind of like of an overview of it, and then we'll go into afterwards how to actually subscribe to it and then set it up.
And for those of you following along, we're on the second PowerPoint now. I'm sorry, the second guide.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Amy. Sorry.
Alexa is here for your everydays, your play days, your home improvement days, your game days. But if your day turns into an unexpected one, Alexa Emergency Assist is there to help. In an emergency, anyone in your home can easily call for help.
Our pizza's on fire.
Hands-free with Alexa.
Alexa, call for help.
And a trained agent will respond right away.
Hello, this is Nick from Urgent Response. Do you need emergency assistance?
Your emergency contacts are automatically notified when the call starts and ends. The agent will request dispatch of emergency services, whether it's police, ambulance, or fire. Information saved in your profile, like medications, gate codes, and pets, saves precious time on the call and will be passed on to first responders so they can act fast. Alexa will also notify you if a smoke or carbon monoxide alarm is detected, whether you're home or away. With Alexa Emergency Assist, you'll have peace of mind every day, knowing you're prepared to get help when you need it most. Get help fast. Just ask.
So that was the introduction. We're going to jump into the actual setup and subscription portion, essentially how to subscribe to it, and then how to go into it and put that information that they were talking about, which is probably the most important part of that entire thing, which I'll let the video kind of explain. In this video, we're going to go over how to subscribe to the Amazon Emergency Assist program, as well as how to set up your profile to make sure it's ready if you do need this in the future. To start, you can't subscribe to the program through the Amazon Alexa app itself. So I included a link underneath the video in the description, as well as in the training guide that you can click on to take you to the page you need. You may need to sign into your Amazon account, and if so, please sign in with your username and password. Then it should take you to a space where you can click on Subscribe Today. Confirm that the payment for the subscription is correct and that the emergency address is too. You'll then click Place Your Order. And you're now subscribed to the Alexa Emergency Assist program and can set up the information. Back in the Alexa app, you're going to click on the three bars towards the bottom left of the screen. Click Emergency Assist. Click Continue to set up the information for the Alexa Emergency Assist program. Under your profile, it should already have used your Amazon account information to initially fill it out. If any of the information is incorrect, make sure to click Edit or Manage on the right-hand side to change it. This is very important. Make sure that the correct information is in there. you're going to click Save and Continue when finished. Under Emergency Contacts, these contacts will be notified if anyone ever uses the emergency line through their Alexa. As an example, if someone does call out through it, anyone underneath this list will get a text message informing them that the program has been used. So you're going to click Add Emergency Contact. You're going to click Add Contact to create a new contact to be used. I'd advise at least filling out the first and last name, nickname, relation, and phone number. Select the emergency contacts. You'll then click Next, and everyone that's become an emergency contact will get a text notification that they've become one. Click Done. Then click Save and Continue. Critical information. This is also very important. Fill out each box completely but simply so it's concise but not overwhelming to read quickly. Click Save and Continue. Under Smart Alerts, you can enable a smoke and CO alarm or glass breaking recognition to the alerts they'll send you, which essentially means if Alexa hears what sounds like a smoke alarm or glass breaking, it sends you a recording of that sound, and then you choose whether you're going to call emergency services or not regarding that sound. You can select what you want to listen for, and then click Save and Continue. If you don't want to use the service at all, just click Do This Later. After this, if you haven't allowed the location sharing when setting up your Echo device, it'll show an orange bar up at the top that says Needs Attention. You'll click on that orange bar and allow location sharing. Once you do that, you're done setting up Alexa Emergency Assist. There we go. So Michelle was actually the one who brought Emergency Assist up to me, and I found that it's actually an extremely important and probably more important to some people to have something like this. And to share a very short story, one of the clients I used to work with watched over her son, but he lived by himself but needed a lot of assistance for where he lived. So something like this is would be perfect for her because if something were to ever happen to him, if he couldn't, call her or if she couldn't get a hold of him, he could always simply just say, Alexa, call for help, and then speak to someone directly. And they can send, whether it's fire, police, the ambulance, all of those things are, I think, very, very beneficial, especially for people that can't either access their phone so easily or that could really just use another another person involved in the process to really facilitate for them what they need. And that's why it was so important to kind of showcase that this exists, but also show in the app itself what it is that they take, so or the information that they take. For instance, like the medications. So say if I was diabetic, I was on insulin or had other medications that I took, I can just list all of that in there. So I don't have to spend time explaining that to anybody. They just know ahead of time that, oh, he's diabetic. We need to make sure this type of medication is here, for those times where the emergency and the for the times of emergencies that you don't have a lot of time to really explain all of these things. And that's really, really why I wanted to talk about it and at least make people aware of it and let people know that it's out there.
And also, I think Prime members get a discounted rate on the monthly service. If I'm not mistaken, I think I saw for mine it was like $5.99 a month, $56 a year. So it's pretty reasonable, especially if you do, like Daniel said, have a family member or a caregiver situation. I also wanted to mention that all this information is also in that blog and the training guide. We're gonna we're gonna show the screen quickly just so we have it on the archive footage as well, so folks know that are going back. To view this after, Ine, if you can show the slide for 14. That way we make sure that we show the thumbnail and the link. Thank you. Perfect. I just want it to be on the recording. Okay. So on here, on the we had the two thumbnails of the two blogs, and they're both available so that if you're wanting to share, again, I wanted to show this on the screen just so that we capture this as well, because this will be archived information that you can access much later than today. And then the slide deck will have this embedded for everybody that's registered today. Again, another way to link it. Any questions? Actually, there was one step that we didn't go over before we went to additional resources. Daniel, do you want to cover in case they need to reset their Amazon Echo? I think it was in the setup at the end.
Oh, yes, yes.
So sorry, Ine, this will be the first slide deck, and it's the how to reset to factory settings video. And then for those of us following along, it will be again back to that Amazon Echo setup made easy. If you scroll towards the bottom, there's a section on resetting. There we go, resetting your Echo. And so yeah, I just wanted to show this just in case, because if you're loaning these items out, you probably will want to use this feature. So we want to show how to get to it. So I'll let you take it away, Dan.
Okay. So this is a really good segue actually for everything we're talking about, because like Michelle mentioned, if it's a loaner device, or, if even if something's not working correctly, most of the time when it comes to smart home devices, starting from scratch will kind of help alleviate a lot of that. So in the video and in the blog post that Michelle talked about, there is ways to reset it, and everyone is just slightly different. So it may take a little bit of trial and error, but for the most part, just know that if there's issues, if it's a loaner and you're getting it back, or you're returning it for the first time, maybe giving it to somebody else, you want to go through these steps to, one, make sure that your personal information isn't connected to it anymore, and two, to have it essentially like a fresh experience just coming out of the box for the first time.
Reset your Echo, third or fourth generation. If your device isn't responding and you've tried to restart it, reset your device. To reset your device and keep your smart home connections, press and hold the Action button for 20 seconds. Wait for the light ring to turn off and on again. Your device enters setup mode. To reset your device to its factory settings, press and hold the microphone off and volume down buttons for 20 seconds. Wait for the light ring to turn off and on again. Your device enters setup mode. Please note that this reset erases all your personal information and any device and smart home connections.
So again, simple, not hard to do, but a very, very, very important step to keep in mind, again, due to how you guys will be interacting with these things.
Okay. Do we have any questions so far? Because believe I'm going to go ahead and drop in to the additional resources in just a sec. But if anyone has any questions, you're welcome to throw them in the chat or put them in the Q&A, raise your hand. Now's the time. It's roughly 3:05, so we don't have much longer. I just want to show you a couple really, really useful resources. We could probably do a whole nother training with some of this information. But I wanted to pause and make sure that for the meat of this, that you guys have the information that you need. If you have any questions, you're always welcome to email me and I will do my best to get you answers. But while you have our install expert, please take advantage while you can. And okay, so in the meantime, I'm not seeing anything. I'm going to go ahead and jump over to the additional resources for you. So, okay, on this slide, like I said, this is a lot of really useful information. Everything is embedded on here for you. So I noticed that the PRC Saltillo, so the Alexa at Home Toolkit, it's a guide that gives you video training. It's an AAC page template for PRC devices, touch chat, and accent. And then it helps folks like walking caregivers and clinicians through creating custom buttons and motivating communication through the AAC. So I know this could be really useful for folks. In the link here, we have the PDF resource. And then we also have the link to the online training module. And so again, this can be its whole own training on its own, but I wanted to give you this link because it walks us through the exact same stuff that we're talking about. Essentially, you can use an AAC device, a speech device, to set up commands, and these are just some of the ways that you can access them. And so the other link that we have here is Lingraphica Smart Home Integration Guide. So this is a clinical brief explaining how Lingraphica AAC devices integrate with environmental controls like Alexa. So it shows real-world use like calling 911, controlling lights. It offers suggested starting points and customization. So in the link here, we also have the clinical guide that might be useful for folks. Next slide, please. Okay, and then the next one we have is Ask My Class, Alexa Skills Blueprints. I found this one to be really interesting. This one here has Alexa skills, including customizable templates aimed at SEL and classroom activities, and why this helps. It's practical for therapists and educators who want engaging routines or prompts that are easily adapted to AAC users. How to access it, you can go under the Explore Alexa Skills Blueprint. And perfect, I see that the girls have dropped the link in the chat here. That's got some really great information as well for you guys. I'd really encourage taking a peek there. And then let's see. The last one that I have on this particular slide and on the resources is Eye Gaze on Alexa Fire Max 11. That's a tablet, so it's a built-in accessibility feature on the Amazon Fire Max 11 tablet. It enables users with speech or mobility impairments to control Alexa using eye movements. It's ideal when voice isn't feasible. And then there's a link there on the information on what is the eye gaze on the Fire tablets. Again, this is just some great starter resources for you folks of how to integrate your Alexa devices with some AAC devices or other things. We are definitely going to continue the conversation on Thursday where we'll dive in to the additional training. We'll discuss more routines, information. Let's go ahead and drop the registration link for that upcoming webinar in case you folks haven't registered yet. We'll drop it one more time. Perfect, there it is. Okay, and then for this one, again, we're going to be chatting about some of the additional devices that we had available at the centers. It's the part 2 registration. This one is going to be Smart at Home Building Accessible Routines. And again, we're going to be kind of showing you how to start the routines, how to build on top of them. We're going to do another overview on the actions, the routines, and the skills, and all that kind of information. So hopefully you can kind of get more familiar with these devices and it doesn't seem so intimidating. Um, but in addition to that, I know the gals dropped in that we had an Earth Day energy efficient smart home solutions that is available on our archive trainings. We also had a campus to career tools to thrive in the workplace that was also available in our archive trainings. And the reason I want to point that out is I want to show you how to access the website for our ability tools archived webinars and where these smart home mini videos and this big training will be. So let me see if I can get it and I can actually do a quick screen share in just a sec. Give me 1 sec while I do that. And then if anybody has any questions, again, now's the time, feel free.
As Michelle is setting up, I just want to say a big thank you to all the participants that came, to everyone that's been here so far, especially as this is an introductory course and many people may have, worked with smart home before, done kind of a lot of the very similar things, but at least coming to these trainings, having the groundwork that you need to maybe even learn a new skill is always appreciated by those of us who set it up because we love to be able to teach you guys these things to better help you and maybe better help somebody that you're close to, family, or people that you work with.
Absolutely. They know that when I reached out to Daniel to ask for help, we basically were I was kind of telling him about our project here and the different devices and the different tools that we have and the DLDC. Um, sorry, the camera move, trying to get everything situated. Um, and so we wanted to just make sure that this was as easy and not as intimidating because I know it can be. You can really get into the weeds with this, but we also don't want the stuff to just for folks not to try it at all. So I wanted to show you how to access these tools. There is, let me see, I'm going to try to screen share. Let me know. Daniel, let me know if you're seeing it. It's going to be our AT network is now ability tools page.
Yeah, the YouTube page.
Perfect. Okay.
Yep.
So on here, sorry, I have to move things around. There. Okay. So here you'll notice that we have a smart home playlist, a regular playlist. What we're going to do is bundle all these smart home videos together. So you should be able to find it under playlists and smart at home. So right now I don't want to play them because it's going to try. But we should have quite a few available for you soon. So right now you'll have the ones that are to set up the Echo and emergency assist, but coming next week, you're going to have more, the third reality smart switch, third reality door sensor, AOTech motion sensor, third reality smart plug, how to make Alexa calls we have in here. So we'll have additional videos, but this is all going to be available for you guys. So that way, if you're setting anybody up, if you need a refresh, if you need to just figure out how to get to something, it'll all be available there. And then the other thing that we'll do is for those of you that are advocates and work with us, we are going to also put a lot of these tools in our groups.io, so our listservs. That way you have access to this information if you're wanting to share with consumers. Once we get to the routines and the ability to actually share, we'd love to get your feedback and to get folks to share some of the routines that might have been successful for them. That's what our hope is. So I wanted to make sure that you knew how to access this information. Um, let me see. As far as the Ability Tools blog, you guys know the link is there as well. The training tool will be available, and let me show you a quick little shortcut as well. I'm going to share my screen one more time. And so show you this. Okay, and you guys are seeing the where it's at, correct?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So right now we have the ones that are the most recent, but let's say, 2 months go by and we have 3 more blogs that have been posted or something like that, and you can't remember where to find it. They're going to show by order, but the other thing that you can do is search here. And let's say you wanted to just go smart home. It's going to give you all of the smart home, anything that has smart home aids or smart home devices. And so you'll get some suggestions here. You can put smart home 2025, and then it'll limit that. And so you'll see different ways that you can access it. I just wanted to point that out so that you guys have this tool as well, and then know how to access it later. If you have any questions for us, please share them with us via email. And I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for being kind to my little brother and giving him a chance to kind of show his stuff here and give some expertise. And hopefully you guys will make use of the tools that you have available. But we want to thank everybody that joined us, and please join us again for Thursday. Watch for the follow-up emails, but we appreciate you all and tuning in. Thank you, everyone. We're going to give you back about 15 minutes. So it's 3:17 my time. What is it, 6:17 over there, Dan?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I know it's time for dinner for you. And thank you, everyone. We appreciate you all. And again, follow up and reach out if you have any questions. Take care,
Thank you,
everyone.
everybody. Bye.
Thank you.